when you're in the game. Hey,
2-1.
Happy New Year if it's New Year for you already.
Happy season.
Yeah,
Happy New
man.
Year
Yeah, my
soon.
gosh. 2024 is coming on, and look who we have with us today, everybody. Saja is back.
Hello. I'm happy to
Yes.
be back.
Thank you so much, man. Yes, it's been a long time after the month, and Saja, I was gonna say, oh, for those of you I saw there, yes, Saja has a PS5. You heard him correctly, and Game Dan does too. At some point, yeah, Saja, do you think you could ever game with Game Dan on your PS5 and then stream it because it streams directly from the PS5? What do you think, Saja?
Yeah, I'd love
Yeah,
to.
definitely can do that. Yeah. I
Yes.
sometimes stream when I'm playing my PS5 games from time to time. So,
Oh, that sounds excellent. Okay, I think we got another addition to the channel here. We're Nintendo guys first and foremost, but sadly here we got to lean into Sony's land. So yeah. And
mhm.
yeah, as of last time we had Professor Suzuka who was gonna give us a bit more of a Japanese angle on gaming from her perspective. Now, besides Gamer Dan and I are from the UK, but yeah, we're gonna have an American angle this time, people. So, well, even though we all live in Japan, but we still definitely bring our cultural background into our perspective-based commentary and so on. So yeah,
Mhm.
Well,
that's
you
that's
spent a lot of time in Korea, which is really interesting to me because that's a big
yeah.
blind spot in my understanding. I know
Me too.
kimchi and K-pop, and that's about it. So anything you can bring
Yeah.
from that perspective would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been back to Korea for a while now, but I have spent some time there and I spent a lot of time hanging out in PC Bang there playing games with my Korean friends. So
Good man, good man.
I've been around the block a few times.
See it, man. Yeah. So my this is
Korean
loves.
gaming is on a whole nother level from
Oh
Japan.
Oh
really?
yeah.
Oh yeah, and a
Wait, but
different.
I
They're
have to
very
know.
competitive.
Uh, so when you say Korean gaming, you don't mean you mean like people in the game center like trying to duke it out.
Well, but no, not only in Korea. Like they're on like the world ranking, like competing in like about with the best of the best around the entire planet.
I've had the
Jeez. Oh
unfortunate
my
pleasure
God.
of playing some Korean players at StarCraft.
Yes,
They don't mess
they are
around.
they're
They
like the
don't.
best. Yeah. Yeah, like, StarCraft is a very old game. It's still played and broadcast on like live TV, like tournaments in Korea, and they're like the best of the best on the entire planet in that game. They're just so good.
Yeah, it's not even a game at this point. It's more like chess. It's just they know each move calculated. You do this, you then this is the counter play. This is the counter play. It's so high level. It's almost like watching high level Evo fighting. With
Yes.
zoning and footsies, and then waiting for your opponent to make a single move, a wrong step, and then you just capitalize on it. They are so
Hmm.
fast.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Oh
And it's
God.
so amazing to watch those players play like that at that
Mm.
level. The game, it's just amazing. Like I've played StarCraft, but I'm nowhere near that good at the game as they are, like at all. So it's
I love
just
it. I've been playing StarCraft since it
I
first
just
came out, but even
yeah.
one, two expansions, Brood Wars, I just can't play on the prefer. I just can't play multiplayer. Like I'll play with a few buddies on a LAN, but that's about it. I'm not stepping outside of my garden because it is ferocious.
We got to bring that
Mhm.
perspective in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
the same. I'm at the same level of you. I'll play on a LAN with my friends, but like on that level, like stepping out into the world competition stuff is like I would just be obliterated by them. So
But
No, guys. Yeah.
yeah,
We're
we,
gonna
we
jump
are.
into it.
We've been chatting a little bit about past games, games we're excited about, games we were playing, but we're looking for ahead.
Yeah.
We're going to make some predictions. Now, there's a lot of talk about Nintendo's 2025 because of new console. Nintendo announced that they were going to announce the next console before the end of the fiscal year, the financial year, which is March. So we know hard line. They must announce before then. But people have been foaming at the mouth since June. It's been 6 months now, and we're getting rumors, we're getting leaks. Some of them appear credible. We haven't got anything confirmed yet, but it's getting so close to the line now. We can see the deadline, and everyone's talking about it. 2025 is going to be a Nintendo year, brand new console, but we haven't got anything concrete. So We're going to jump in that bandwagon and we're going to throw out our own predictions.
And those of you out there who know someone called Obi-Wan Plays, yeah, I've been in his DMs recently, not DMs, sorry, in his comments, and some of you have been curious about the channel. Yeah, I'm gonna give my thoughts on his predictions when I say my piece, and yeah, you can go to Obi. Yeah, you may not know what that's about, guys, but there are people who want to see the stream and see what I have to say about the new Switch, and just prepping them. So that's all from me. I'm ready to roll. Yeah. All right.
Right. Let's rock and roll. So
they're gonna do like the reveal itself in like a short teaser or whatever, and then they will do it.
We'll go back a little bit
here, but let's get into it. The Nintendo Switch 2 will be called the Nintendo Switch 2. It will be revealed in January, just like they did with the Switch. They're gonna do like the reveal itself in like a short teaser or whatever, and then they will do a full presentation in February. This will be just like the January 2017 presentation for the Switch. Full reveal, all features, release date, price, a bunch of games and everything. The system is going to launch in June. I've been saying May, and there's still part of me that wants to hold on to May for some reason, but they do tend to launch things kind of like at the end of quarters. They just, I don't know. It seems to happen a lot. So let's say it's going to launch in June. The system will cost $400.
So, what do you think? As I said,
it's called the Switch 2. Is that the name?
No. This is all prediction. This is all predictions. This is just him going, I think this is what they're going to do. It's going to be called this. It's going to come out here. Here's why. This entire video is him guessing.
The first thing I want to say, real quickly, before Saja goes, is if you're going to call it the Switch 2 Nintendo, call it Switch TO or something. Or no, maybe not that. Just Switch 2, TO, I should have said that. Or for something, I mean, that is not so obvious because PlayStation is a company, Sony is a company that used to remind people that they're playing a games console by calling the next console, the next iteration, 2, 3, 4, 5. And similar thing with Xbox, they changed the name. But Nintendo, you don't need to do that. If you notice the next console, they don't even need to actually call it. I mean, except for like, the 3DS, which I thought was a clever way to, they thought it was a clever way to say that it does 3D and it's a DS. But one thing about Nintendo is that its brand is strong enough that you don't need to actually call the console 2.
I want to agree with you. I think this is a litmus test. When they announce the name of the console is going to be a big decider on the corporate culture. Because historically, they've always done their own thing. Nintendo has always kind of beaten to its own drum. They were a card company, a toy company. They want to make experiences. And that's why each of their consoles have had fun, unique, interesting names. They built across each other. I so want the next console to be the Super Switch, harking back to the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That's my dream. I want that because it speaks to, we're keeping the ethos, we're keeping the energy and the feel of the original Nintendo company. But in the last couple of years, we've had a change of CFO, we've had a change of the heads. The old guard have left. They've moved on, and we've got new people. And we're getting a taste of kind of more mainstream, more kind of nickel and diming culture. Some of the game consoles have come out, some of the games have come out on mobiles, and they've been very AI heavy, very microtransaction friendly. We're seeing some tentative kind of putting their toes in the water towards more mainstream gaming culture, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I think if they come out with the Switch 2, that'll be a big indicator that, right, they're going the way of the other companies. This is going to be profit driven rather than gameplay driven.
I mean, the last thing I'll say quickly before Saja, sorry, one thing is did Reggie Fils-Aimé, maybe you know, sir, did Reggie Fils-Aimé leave Nintendo before the Switch came out?
No, he came after the Switch came out. The Switch was out when he left, but Doug Bowser took over for Reggie Fils-Aimé for Nintendo of America, which during the Switch's time. But the Switch has done very, very well. It was marketed really, really successfully. I think they got a busted nose, a black eye from the Wii U. They assumed that those massive numbers from the Wii would continue, and they weren't. The Wii was a fad. It was interesting, but when they brought the next console, one, the tech wasn't perfect. It was kind of rocky, and the fans just went. And all they were left with was the core gamers, and they didn't like the Switch, the Wii U. So they learned their lesson. They appealed to a larger market, but they marketed very effectively, very successfully for the Switch. So when people went into it, they knew what it was. They knew exactly what they were getting. They knew what the appeal was. It's a handheld. It docks. Boom. It can be a home console or a handheld, and you can take away both controllers, and boom, you've got instant two-player. Very clear, very concise. I think that helped alleviate the fears, kind of really set the tone for the start.
Definitely, Saja. So, what? And sorry, I keep hogging your time. Go ahead and you can say what you want to say. Thanks.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt the two of you and your thoughts and line of, conversation there. So I was just listening in, and yeah. Like I really liked Gamer Nan's thoughts about the Switch 2 name, or like calling it the Super Switch, like a NES going to the SNES. Like when I was a kid and growing up, my parents wouldn't let me have an NES, but my cousins, my friends had one, and I played, Mario and all the games over Duck Hunt and all that with my friends at my cousin at his house and stuff like that. And then when I was a little bit older for Christmas, I got a Super Nintendo. And before the Super Nintendo came out, I had even said, are they going to call it something like the Super Nintendo? Like as a kid, that just like popped into my head. And that's actually what it ended up being called. And it's like I predicted that it was going to be called the Super Nintendo before it even came out as the Super Nintendo. So I was kind of like, oh my gosh, they called it exactly what I was predicting. It was like, it's just, I was so excited when I finally got that
Mm.
Super Nintendo. And then Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. I loved that game. I played so many hours. That's one of my favorite Mario games of all time. It's just such a good game, Super Mario World. It's
Mm.
just so good. And then I got Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, and my dad and I played that for hours, racing against each other. And I, ever since the original Mario Kart came out on the SNES, I've been a Mario Kart fan. I've played like pretty much almost all of them over the devices over the years and whatnot, too. So I'm a big Mario Kart fan.
Yeah,
I play a lot of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on my Switch. So
I still do.
Maybe they should.
I love
Maybe they should.
that.
yeah, I
What
still
is
go
it?
back and play it. I still love playing it. So
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's. I love that you can connect with other switches and so on, and have like many people in the race, which is a clever thing that Nintendo to do, of course. In the light of how much the online games runs, of course. But I was thinking, what if they call the Switch the Switch Deluxe?
Feels like a
But I did.
that,
No.
feels
that
like
might
a
be.
Taco Bell meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd hope
Well,
that they would be smarter than that. They would do something clever. But
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, I guess they had to push it out the door quickly. I think Nintendo, they're a very interesting situation with that. They, they kind of represent Japan very well. They have a strong, they have a whole tradition in high regard, but at the same time, they 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 can't let opportunities slip away from them too much. When they're trying to keep up to date with the rest of the world, and therefore they had to push out the Mario Kart game 8 and call it something. But if I'm sure there's some hierarchical issues with regards to the process before a game gets okayed on. It's like, whatever, deluxe. It's called it deluxe already. It's like the Wii U. I'm sure that it was probably a what's the word, a rush. It felt like a rush process when they gave it that name. I mean, I understand it's
no,
like we is like me and you, we see, but no, it's we was you. And DS no three, no, it's 3DS and two DS. Yeah, okay. So it's very much it felt as Dan as sorry, as Saja was saying, um partly spontaneous like the Super Nintendo, but it also feels like they're under a lot of pressure. I mean, right, especially now, they've had a lot of time to think about the Switch 2, code name Switch 2. But if they call it something rushed, it means that they're not preparing properly, or there's some sort of somebody higher up who's putting the foot on the brakes. kind of stop it over with
Well, I also
something.
have a feeling that they may call it the Switch 2 because of all of the leaks and things that have been happening, and it's like forced them to maybe release it sooner than they were ready. So they might just like go with that name
Mm,
because of the rush release that they might have been forced by the leaks that have come out recently. That could be something that could factor into that as well.
definitely. I mean,
I've heard
leaks
the same
can cause
thing.
a rush.
We've just had literally only a few days ago. We had a rumor that because so many of the leaks have occurred and they've been credible leaks, we've got an accurate look at the console and look at some of the peripherals. They're going to have to push ahead. They're going to have to release earlier than expected, and yeah, that could
Absolutely.
have a real impact on their marketing.
Yeah.
But
Well, guys, I'm out there. I'll reiterate what I said earlier about gamer YouTuber Obi Wan Place. He says apparently one of the leaks has a design with a fan attached on it, which means that it's probably gonna have well, it's just gonna be like a very intense uh set of processing power going on in the back of it to just blow all the heat out so it doesn't burn your lap and all that stuff.
One of the
currently, this
That
So,
one
so
complaint with the Switch that a lot of gamers had was that the internal hardware was rather weak compared to Xbox or PlayStation. Like, the
also
graphics and CPU were just not really that strong in the Switch. So that was a complaint that a lot of gamers had is like, is it powerful enough to run certain types of games? Like AAA
yeah.
games can be very system intensive that the Switch couldn't necessarily handle. So.
I've had the pleasure of completing Doom 2016, the first time on the Switch and second time on the PlayStation 4. And Switch is remarkably well optimized. It plays very, very well on the Switch, but it's noticeable. There is a clear drag. It just does not have the speed and frenetic energy that it
Mhm.
would on a higher console. And you're absolutely right. Even earlier games chugged a little bit from time to time. I mean, one of their flagship titles was Breath of the Wild, and even that had struggled. So right from the gate,
That's
they were
interesting.
playing releasing games that were idealistic versions of what they could play. But apparently, this new one's going to be like on par with the PlayStation 4 Pro. It has a chipset that we're able to play near, not at, but near the contemporaries now, which means that there's very few games that it wouldn't be able to play, even poorly. So quite exciting. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I was gonna say real quick before we move on, AI. I just hope the AI is implemented, I'm sure it will be, to make graphic processing optimized as well. Because if it can't process a bunch of images, at least AI can just like make a final render really quick. As imagine if you had like a screen, a game image that had a lot of stuff going on in the background of the world, but it doesn't have time to generate all that stuff in the background. But if you
Mm.
just get straight to the final image of AI guesswork, it may look a bit weird. But with AI improving, I'm sure you could probably get the final image to fool people to think that this is more impressive than it is. You know,
It's potential. There's a potential there. Right. Moving
yeah,
along.
yeah.
$100 in the US, and unfortunately will only come with just one SKU at that exact price. But it is going to launch with some sort of pack-in software. Probably not like a full game, but there's going to be some kind of software that shows off like new features or whatever, new social features, and that pack-in software is going to come with every single Switch 2. And speaking of social features and new features, I'm going to really lean on that mysterious C button here. I think that C button might kind of be at the heart of the Switch 2's identity. You know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to say yes. That button, it's the connect button. That button lets you wirelessly connect to a dock and stream video to it. So you can essentially connect to a dock and play on the TV without the Switch actually being in the dock. But even more, this connect button will also help you connect to other devices, other Switch 2s, smartphones. It's going to just like be an all-purpose connect button. It's going to
So earlier you mentioned, did you think that the Switch 2 was going to be able to dock or handheld?
Yes.
Early leaked images have shown that there's a new button, a C button on it, but everyone's like, what is it? Is it cast? Like, can you Chromecast? or is it connect? Will it connect to a phone, or will it connect to a wireless headset so you could wireless communication with people? Will it be able to connect to other consoles? So when you're out and about, instead of detaching the controllers and having both play on one screen, you could just connect the two consoles. We don't know, but there's been a whole splattering of ideas. This is a sample pack of some of the concepts, but that's one of the better ideas, I think, that part of its identity is not just handheld and then dock, but handheld and then press the C button and then you could just play on the screen, or even go the way of the Wii U, having two screens. Some games will have touchscreen gameplay and then you play it on the television, or playing with friends in a social setting. So maybe two consoles will now have four-player. Both of you detach, and then you can instantly have four people playing simultaneously in a match. No, maybe. I don't know. But I like the idea that this thing is leaning into the portability, the connectivity that the Switch really sold. Part of its early branding, part of its early appeal was the pick up and play of it. They had pictures of people on planes playing Skyrim, people at a party pulling out playing Mario Kart. It was very core to the Switch's identity. So expanding and giving a more enhanced, more robust version of that feels like a continuation, like it's a real evolution. And unlike a deluxe, which is like the best version of an old thing, it's the super. It's kind of upgrading itself to the next level. If it can, I'd be very excited. But again, this is all just speculation.
Yeah, Saja?
That is a very exciting feature that I would be thrilled about, but I also would have some concerns about the, you know, internet Wi-Fi connectability of like, buffering and like streaming for like gameplay via that. Like if it's fast enough, it would be fine. If it's too slow with the connection between devices, you could get some latency issues that it wouldn't play as smoothly as you may hope through those connectivity things. So I feel like there could be a lot of unforeseen variability due to connectivity issues with your Wi-Fi router or like other home internet systems and things could play into that a little bit too. If you have a good connection, it would probably work just great and no problems. But if you don't have a good connection, that could definitely be something that degrades the effectiveness of that kind of connectivity.
Good point. Good point.
So Dan, you were saying?
I was just saying, I agree. I think it's a valid point. There's always going to be hardware limitations, and some people don't have as much access as others.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was thinking. So wait, hold on. About the C button, is effectively docking? Wait, are you able to project the screen into the device? Pretty much.
Theoretically, the idea is you would cast the screen, or you'd project from the console to the dock and then play it on the TV. So instead of having to physically dock the console and then use a controller, you would just press the C button and then play on the TV.
It's an obvious next step if you think about it. It's oh my god, it's obvious. That's so silly. That's obvious.
It would be it would be similar to like if you have like Apple devices, you have like a
exactly
iPhone or you have an iPad, and then you just have your Apple TV and you're just streaming your screen from your mobile device to the TV, and like similar way to that.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. Sorry, control. Sorry guys, hello? Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you.
Hey, sorry about that. Sorry, Saja, can you hear me? 1, 2.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh no,
can you hear
frozen? Oh, you can. Yes. No, dude. Yeah, I think the computer got too excited like I did. But, I was saying, yeah, in and out.
No, you're fine. You're fine on my end.
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay, thanks. So as I was saying, thanks, dudes. Yeah, what I was saying was, you probably have this feeling. I always have this feeling a bit like when I'm always anticipating a certain artist's next album or something. What's it going to be like? By the time they do it, I'm like, of course that's what they did. That was the next natural step. I'm feeling that way now. My mind was thinking maybe Nintendo are going to do something weird, wonderful, but or completely different. But if you think about it, if you can cast the screen here onto your, sorry, from your Switch to the TV, you effectively made a new DS out of the Switch. You can keep playing, or you can turn the Switch screen into like a touch screen, and it becomes effectively what the DS was. And if you have the buttons on the side, you've made the DS out of your TV.
That would be just a
But that'll be
dream. Be
more.
able to play old DS games on the TV and the
Yeah,
console, amazing. But it's funny you mentioned that there
it's
will be latency issues if we were playing, especially multiplayer or online games, which is the way that gaming has gone.
Yeah.
Without a strong connection, you struggle. I mean, it's
Yes.
a number of years ago, America brought into laws saying that internet access is a utility, it's a human right, because it's such a necessity for communication, for work, for business, for personal
right.
banking. It's a requirement, and there's recently been some hubbub in the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court was given a court case against New York City. New York City brought in a law saying that the ISP providers must offer a low price option for low income housing. There must be an option because it's a utility and they must be given access. It's a human right. And of course, these IP providers like, no, you're cutting into our profits. So they took it all the way to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court said, nope, we're not dealing with this. You have to do this. But ISPs are still trying to work around it. And there are places all over the world that really struggle with decent quality access. We live in Japan. Here is internet tends to be quite fast, very robust. But MatMadik, we've this year alone, we've had some real problems with Okinawan internet, you know?
I have
So
also noticed my internet this year
Yeah,
has not
well,
been
happening
handling
to now.
things as
I think it's
well as
happening now. Yeah, so the internet,
yeah,
I think,
and I
so
thought it was just me that I thought it was just on my end that that was a problem, but hearing that
yeah,
from you, it sounds like maybe
and
the
that's the
infrastructure
thing.
in Okinawa is
Well, even
having
now,
more.
for example,
I would not be surprised between the weather and basic infrastructure problems that some, no, not just Okinawa, but some countries, some regions, even UK, some parts of the UK struggle to get decent internet speeds. And it's such a limitation because that's hardware. There's nothing you can do. That's outside the purview of most
mm,
average persons. What do you do? And you've got a great console, great game, great idea,
hmm,
but we're still limited by the hardware. That's the folly of Sega. Sega was such a forward-thinking company at the time. They introduced modems like a decade before any other company. Was the first company to do DLC in a console, but
yeah,
they were so far ahead on such a cutting edge. They cut themselves down. I don't
it's
want
happening as well.
Nintendo to implement anything. I wouldn't think
That's true.
that Nintendo would implement anything that would
Yeah,
shoot themselves in the foot.
big liability. Yeah, it's if that I think that your internet connection is a big part of the product, and you can't control it. Exactly what you say. You're just setting yourself up to be blamed for something that's not your fault. And at the same time, and there's another aspect to bear in mind that some people don't take so seriously is too much, even the blue light that we exposed to right now. Thank good thing Taj got glasses on, but I should, yeah. I mean, if we're gonna have the internet shooting all over the place after a while, it could cause some health issues. If people are playing super duper, I mean, the radiation effects, they're not nothing. They really can give you some illnesses. So Nintendo, I think if they go internet heavy, they've got to also go offline. Be prepared for an offline alternative. Uh, let's say you, I don't know. Let's say we just did the good old switch, but you can instead of what am I saying? Instead of the internet, you Bluetooth or something like that, where it's not too much dependent on the World Wide Web, but you can get your data and just Bluetooth stream to your screen and so on. And let's say the controllers are all screens, so everyone feels like they got a switch. I don't know. I'm just spitballing too much, but I think they should be prepared to. But I think they should be develop themselves against the internet failing.
Mm.
It can happen. Yeah, I think next year there's all these threats of cybercrime going on. Next thing you know, there's a big cybercrime, and it shuts down a bunch of servers, and Nintendo will be like, "Oh no, it technically works in theory. Please."
I am a very
You can't rely on
major.
it like that. What do you think, Saja?
I play a lot of online multiplayer games. That's the primary type of game I play is online multiplayer type games with people all over the world. And those Wi-Fi buffering, latency issues and gameplay and things, I feel the effects of that very strongly quite often. So those are the things that catch my attention because I'm more
Mm.
affected because of the type of game I play definitely has those things that are occurring. And also, like you said, with cyber attacks, there's been a lot more DDoS attacks and cyber
Yeah.
attacks on gaming multiplayer servers that's affecting gameplay and people losing connection to game in the middle of doing content together and things. So it's definitely a major issue to have the consideration to think about how do you deal with things beyond your control, you know. You
I
can't.
almost ex I almost exclusively play single player, but even I've heard about these attacks. And people, the quality and quantity of intrusive attacks this year has really kind of become prevalent.
Uh,
So,
this was
I've
making my
definitely
head.
seen an increase this year in the number of attacks that are occurring. It's been going up drastically.
Yeah, definitely. But it's no joke. And yeah, Nintendo better be prepared. I just think the Nintendo's Game of Jam always say, Saja, is Nintendo's not to being an innovative, almost like a toy company. They think of new ways to play, not just the game itself. So if they can be creative about it, fine. I don't know, maybe they can provide people with a landline. I don't know, or something. Um, maybe hopefully that will help. But if not, then I think they just need to have a good offline attractive feature that will offset any of the issues or doubts that maybe people may have about going even more heavily online.
I think the C button works perfectly well offline. If it's just you or friends or local multiplayer, couch co-op, there's no problem at all because you're in the room. There's going to be low latency. It's going to be fine. But it's when you get online, and that is the way that the industry is going. People want to be able to play online. The experiences are so much more robust. Being able to play not just a well-crafted story, but a great story with friends. You create your own experiences, and those tend to last. They get people coming back. It's understandable. People get into these online games, and then they're hooked, and that's a great revenue stream for companies. So that's the way some of the big companies are going.
That is it.
Right,
Game
we
Jam.
have
Yeah,
two
we have 2
minutes.
minutes until we get kicked off. So should we reload and do a part two?
All right, yeah, well, we'll pause here and we'll come back in a moment.
Okay, so I'll just see you soon.
I'll see you
All right,
soon.
part two.
See you guys.